नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नरं चैव
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जयमुदीरये.
ततो जयमुदीरये.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी.
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 7, The Son of Drona Punished. Text number 15 doesn't have any purport. I'll read myself. 16 we will read together. Mata Sishunam Nidhanam Sutanam Nisamya Ghoram Paritapyamana Tadarudadvaspakalau Tadarudadvaspakala Kulakshi Tam Santavyan Aha Kiritamali. Draupadi, the mother of 5 children of the Pandavas, after hearing of the massacre of her sons, began to cry in distress with eyes full of tears. Trying to pacify her in her great loss, Arjuna spoke to her thus. Tada Suchaha Te Pramrajami Bhadre Tada Suchaste Pramrajami Bhadre Yad Brahma Bandho Siraha Atatayinaha Yad Brahma Bandho Shira Atatayinaha Gandiva Muktaihi Vishikaihi Upahare Gandiva Muktair Vishikair Upahare Tva Akramya Yad Snasyasi Dagdhaputra Tavakramya Yad Snasyasi Dagdhaputra Tada Suchaste Pramajamri Bhadre Tada Suchaste Pramrajami Bhadre Yad Brahma Bandho Shira Atatayinaha Gandiva Muktair Vishikhair Upahare Tvakramya Yatsnasyasi Dagdhaputra Tada Suchaste Pramrajami Bhadre Yad Brahma Bandho Shira Atatayinaha Gandiva Muktair Vishikhair Upahare Tvakramya Yatsnasyasi Dagdhaputra Tada Suchaste Pramrajami Bhadre Yad Brahma Bandho Shira Atatayinaha Gandiva Muktair Vishikhair Upahare Tvakramya Yatsnasyasi Dagdhaputra
Tada Sujaste Prajanami Bhadre
तदा शुचस्ते प्रमृजामि भद्रे
यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिराततायिनः
यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिराततायिनः
गाण्डीवमुक्ते विशिखैरुपाहरे
गाण्डीवमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे
तवाक्रम्य यत् सा स्नास्यसि दग्धपुत्रा
त्वाक्रम्य यत्स्नास्यसि दग्धपुत्रा।
तदा शुचस्ते प्रमृचामि भद्रे यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिर आततायिनः गाण्डीवमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे त्वाक्रम्य यत्स्न्याससि दग्धपुत्रा।
तदा शुचस्ते प्रमृजामि भद्रे यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिराततायिनः गाण्डीवमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे त्वाक्रम्य यत्स्न्यास्यसि दग्धपुत्रा
त्वाक्रम्य यत्स्नास्यसि दग्धपुत्रा।
तदा शुचस्ते प्रमृजामि भद्रे
शुचस्ते प्रमृजामि भद्रे
यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिर आततायिनः
यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिराततायिनः
गाण्डीवमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे
विमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे
त्वाक्रम्य यत्स्नास्यसि दग्धपुत्रा।
तदा शुचस्ते प्रमजामि भद्रे
तदा शुचस्ते प्रमृजामि भद्रे
यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिर आततायिनः
यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिराततायिनः
गाण्डीवमुक्तेर्विशिखैरुपाहरे
गाण्डीवमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे
त्वाक्रम्य यत्स्नासि दग्धपुत्रः
ब्रह्मचामि भद्रे यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिर आततायिनः गाण्डीवमुक्ते विशिखैरुपाहरे त्वाकर्म यत् स्नास्यसि दग्धपुत्रा।
तदा शुचस्ते प्रमृजामि भद्रे
शुचस्ते प्रमृजामि भद्रे
यद्ब्रह्मबन्धोः शिर आततायिनः
यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिराततायिनः
गाण्डीवमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे तवाक्रम्य यत्स्न्यास्यसि दग्धपुत्रा।
पुत्रा तदा सृजस्ते परमजामि भद्रे यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिराततायिनः गाण्डीवमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे त्वाक्रम्य यत्स्नास्यसि दग्धपुत्रा।
तदा शुचस्ते प्रमृजामि भद्रे
तदा शुचस्ते प्रमृजामि
तद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिर आततायिनः गाण्डीवमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे त्वाक्रम्य यत्स्नास्यसि दग्धपुत्रा।
शुचस्ते प्रमचाम्नि भद्रे यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिराततायिनः गाण्डीवमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे त्वाक्रम्य यज्ञासि दग्धपुत्रा
दग्धपुत्रा तदा शुचस्ते प्रमृजामि भद्रे यद्ब्रह्मबन्धो शिराततायिनः गाण्डीवमुक्तैर्विशिखैरुपाहरे त्वाक्रम्य यत्स्न्यास्यसि दग्धपुत्रा
Online, anybody? Mataji, don't want. Try. Tada suchaste pramrajami bhadre Yad brahma bandho shira tatayinaha Gandiva muktair vishikhair upahare Tvakramya yatsnasyasi dagdha putra
सूयते प्रमुजानि भद्रे
Tada suchaste pramrajami bhadre
यद्ब्रह्म बन्धो शिरो आततायिनः
Yatrama bandho sira tatayinaha
गाण्डीवर्मुक्ते विशिखैर उपहरे
Gandiva muktair vishikhair upahare
त्वकर्म यश्नासि दग्धपुत्र
Tvakramya yatsnasyasi dagdha putra. Synonyms tada, at that time only. Suchaha, tears and grief. Te, your. Pramrajami, shall wipe away. Bhadre, O gentle lady. Yat, when. Brahmabandho, of a degraded Brahmana. Siraha, head. Atatayinaha, of the aggressor. Gandiva muktaihi, shot by the bow named Gandiva. Vishikhaihi, by the arrows. Upahare, shall present to you. Tva, yourself. Akramya, riding on it. Yad, which. Snasyasi, take your bath. Dagdhaputra, after burning the sons. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that Brahmana, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandiva bow, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bath standing on his head. Translation with repetition. O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that Brahmana, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandiva bow, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bath standing on his head. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. An enemy who sets fire to the house, administers poison, attacks all of a sudden with deadly weapons, plunders wealth or usurps agricultural fields, or entices one's wife is called an aggressor. Such an aggressor, though he be a Brahmana or a so-called son of a Brahmana, has to be punished in all circumstances. When Arjuna promised to behead the aggressor named Aswathama, he knew well that Aswathama was the son of a Brahmana. But because the so-called Brahmana acted like a butcher, he was taken as such, and there was no question of sin in killing such a Brahmana's son who proved to be a villain. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are in this section where we are seeing this history of how the Pandavas retired timely and how Parikshit Maharaj took birth. And in context to that, these two questions which were asked by Saunaka Muni, Suta Goswami is beginning to answer, and he starts with this particular episode in Mahabharat where Duryodhana is lying, his spinal cord broken. We saw that last time. Bhagna Uru, what is that? Urudandir, yes, Bhagna Urudandir. So his spinal cord was broken, and Aswathama, the son of Dronacharya, brought this beheaded, the sons of Draupadi and Upaharad. He gave them as a gift to Duryodhan, whereas Duryodhan condemned that act. Bipriyam Jugupsitam Bigarhayanti. 3 words which was used in the last verse. So continuing further, today's verse, the verse that I just spoke myself. Mata Sishunam Nidhanam Sutanam Nisamya Ghoram Prati Paritapyamana Tada Rudad Vaspa Kala Kulaksi Tam Santavyan Aha Kiritamali. Bhagavatam can be so poetic, and one example is, you can see in this normal verses like this. Mata Sishunam Nidhanam Sutanam. The mother, seeing that her children have been massacred, Nidhanam, Mata Sishunam Nidhanam Sutanam, Nisamya Ghora Paritapyamana. Hearing this ghastly act, Paritapyamana, she is lamenting. How is she lamenting? Tada Rudat Vaspa Kala Kulakshi. She began to cry, Tada Arudat. At that time, when she heard this, Tada Arudat Vaspa Kala Kulakshi. Vaspa Kala Kulakshi is a very beautiful term. Akula is, we hear this in Bhagavad Gita also, Ashru Purna Kulekshanam. Visidantam idam vakya uvacha Madhusudana. So, Vaspa Kala Akula Akshi. Akshi is eyes which are, it is just brimming, it's filled with tears. Tada Rudat Vaspa Kala Kulakshi. So Vaspa Kala Akula Akshi, with tears in her eyes. Tam Santavyan Aha Kiritamali. One word of Arjuna, which is a very interesting word, is called Kiritamali. I don't know if you know why he's called Kiritamali, but there is a history. I'll tell if there is time. Tam Santavyan Aha Kiritamali. So Arjuna spoke certain words to pacify the grief-stricken Draupadi. And what he spoke is what we are seeing now. And let's see the verse. So the verse says, Tada Suchaste Pramrijami Bhadre Yad Brahma Bandho Sira Atatayinaha Gandiva Mukter Vishikhair Upahare Tvakramya Yatsnasyasi Dagdha Putra. Tada Suchaste Pramrijami Bhadre. Pramrijami is translated as shall wipe out. So Arjuna is addressing Draupadi as Bhadre. Tada Suchaste Pramrijami Bhadre. Bhadre, oh gentle lady. Tada Suchaste Pramrijami Bhadre. So your tears, you wipe out your tears when you see Yad Brahma Bandhu Sira Atataina, this aggressor who's a Brahma Bandhu, when his head is beheaded, by my Gandiva Muktair, by the arrows which are released from this famous bow called Gandiva, and I'll bring his head as Upahare. I will give you, I'll present it to you. Tvakramya yat snasyasi dagdhaputra. So you wipe out your tears after you see the head which is beheaded by my Gandiva, the arrows which are released from my Gandiva. And after that you take bath, Tvakramya yat snasyasi dagdhaputra, on the head of that on the head of Aswathama. Snasyasi, take your bath, dagdhaputra, after burning the sons. Akramya is riding on it. O gentle lady, Bhadre, when I present you with Tada Suchas, with the head of the Brahmana, Siraha, Brahma Bandho Siraha, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandiva bow, Gandiva Mukter Vishikhair, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes, Tada Suchas te Pramrijami, and pacify you. Then after burning your sons' bodies, Dagdhaputra, you can take your bath standing on his head. Tvakramya yatsnasyasi. A very beautiful verse and very short purport, but there is still something that we can learn, and not something, there's a lot that we can learn. So I have divided the class into 3 parts, and the first part is the context, one context which can set the mood, which is mentioned in these 2 verses that we are seeing together, Dagdhaputra. Imagine the grief of a mother or a father when he or she sees that his sons are no more. His sons are no more is one thing, but his sons are killed. His sons are killed is one thing, but his sons are killed brutally. His sons are killed, but his sons are killed brutally, but not just that, brutally beheaded, and just the heads are there. What will happen to the situation of the mother? Mata Sishunam Nidhanam Sutanam Nisamya Ghoram Paritapyamana. So, huge lamentation. Big lamentation for Draupadi. Mata Sishunam Nidhanam Sutanam Nisamya Ghoram Paritapyamana. Tada Rudad Vaspa Kala Kulakshi. And just she's crying, she's uncontrollable. And the tears are not just stopping. Possibly what a husband can do at that time. Tam Santavyan Aha Kiritamali. Just to pacify Draupadi, Arjuna has spoken these words. Very interesting verse, but the purport starts with a line where Prabhupada is changing the whole context. We may see that Draupadi is grief-stricken and lamenting and remorseful, sorrowful. Usually, the modern context, what we will do? We will say, it's time for payback. We'll take revenge. And that's what exactly Arjuna is telling. I will behead him. And once I behead him, I'll present that head to you. Tada suchaste pramrijami bhadre. And I will wipe out your tears at that time. Then you finish the final rites of your sons and take bath on this head. Tvakramya yatsnasyasi. You take bath riding on his head, standing on his head. Well, this is what we will do. This is what we usually do. If somebody does a little this thing to us, you pinched me? How many days back? 1 year back. I have not forgotten. Time will come, I'll repay you. You pinched, I'll take out some flesh from your body. And whether it is right or wrong, that's a very deep subject matter. But here Prabhupada is clarifying that this is right. Why this is right? Because Aswathama is falling under the category of an aggressor. And if you remember in Bhagavad Gita, does anybody remember the word aggressor? Atatayana. Where is it there? Any chapter or anywhere you remember where it is there? Second chapter? How many are second chapter? Second chapter, Vishnu, okay. Second or first? First? Or any other chapter other than first, second? Is there in the first chapter, 26th verse. Tatra pashyat sthitan partha pitrin atha pitamahan acharya matulah bhratran putran pautran sakhim satha. Swasuran? No, not this one. Papam eva shredasman hatvaitan atatainaha tasman narha vayam hantum dhartra rastran sabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syama madhava. Actually, Arjuna was so compassionate. He's saying even if they are aggressor, even if they've violated these principles, these Vedic injunctions, who are aggressor? There are 6 things if somebody has done, he is considered to be an aggressor. The first thing is set fire to somebody's house. Okay. Second, administers poison. Third, attacks all of a sudden with a deadly weapons, as it happened in the case of Aswathama when the sons of Draupadi were sleeping. This is against the laws or the Vedic injunctions. Like a Kshatriya, when he has to fight, if the opponent is weaponless, he will give him weapon first and then he will fight. But using this deadly weapon when somebody is asleep, when somebody is harmless, is against the Vedic injunctions. Plunders wealth or usurps agricultural fields or entices one's wife is called an aggressor. And as per Manu Samhita, as per the Vedic injunctions, a person who commits any of these 6 aggression, he should be killed. He should be finished. Otherwise, the reactions of this sin that is committed by a person is so much that he has to suffer in one of these 26 hellish planets and then go through that. Then again, it continues. It's a horrendous after reaction. So it is better if that person is killed, finished, because that is the deserving punishment for him. But we will see later that actually Draupadi pardoned Aswathama. Draupadi forgave, thinking that the pain that I have gone through, I don't want Kripi, the mother of Aswathama, or wife of Dronacharya, Kripi, to go through the same pain. We will see that. So one question which comes in mind is, what is the balance between forgiveness and punishment? Right? Which is the situation where one should forgive, and which is the situation one should punish? What is the Sastric injunction in that? These are very important things, because in our life also we come across situations where we are confronted with these choices, whether I should forgive him or I should carry it in my heart and take revenge. Chodunga nahi usko. Which is the right thing to do? But before we go there, there is another significant point which Prabhupada is mentioning, that here the act which is performed by Aswathama is not befitting that of a Kshatriya. First of all, he was not a Kshatriya. That is why the word used here is Brahmabandho. Brahmabandho is actually born in the family of Brahmana, but doesn't have any qualities of Brahmana. If you remember the prayers which are offered by Kunti Maharani, and she lists the various problems that Pandavas have gone through. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanad Asad Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichrataha Mridhe Neka Maharathastrato Droni Astratascha Hare Virakshitaha. All the 6 aggression is mentioned in there. Vishad Mahagne, giving poison to Bhima. Purushada Darshanad Asad Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichrata. Draupadi being insulted. Mridhe Aneka Maharathastrato Droni Astratas. Again, Dronas, he released this Brahmastra to kill Parikshit. It will come another, the next few pages we will see that. Droni Astratas Chasma Hare Virakshita. The Lord protected us. Even if the 6 kind of aggression was done to Pandavas, yet Arjuna was showing compassion, saying that they may be atataina, they might have done this, but why would I do this? Papam evashrayat, because he was having compassion and he was telling that sin will overtake me. Now, one of the things that we should ask in this verse when we read is, why did Aswathama behave the way he behaved? Because Aswathama was a son of Dronacharya. Very nice parentage, rich family upbringing. It's not like he was not aware of the values of a Brahmana, and yet he behaved like this. And Arjuna, when he took the vow, Prabhupada is writing, he was aware that Aswathama is the son of my guru, is the son of a Brahmana, yet he is taking this vow, and he is promising to kill him because he's a butcher. He was taken as such, and there was no question of sin in killing such a Brahmana's son who proved to be a villain. The reason why somebody does like this, of course, one thing is swadharma. If somebody forgets his swadharma, then he acts very differently. But the other thing is, which again Kunti Maharani mentions in one of her prayers, Janmaishwarya Shruta Shribhir Edhamana Madah Puman Naivaharti Avidhatum Vai Tvam Kinchana Gocharam. This verse has a very powerful reference to what happens when somebody gets something which is more than average people what they get. And those 4 things which are mentioned here are Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shribhir. If somebody has got rich parentage, is born to a very nice family, even though he is a devotee, somehow or other he wants to show it off, that I am so and so, I am son of this devotee, I am a son or daughter of so and so parents. Janma, Aishwarya, and opulence. If I am born in a very rich family, Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta. Shruta is intelligence, and Shri is beauty. I am so beautiful. So when these 4 things are there, at least these are the 4 things which Kunti Maharani mentions, but Prahlad Maharaj in her prayer, in his prayer, he goes on and tells even more things, that can give somebody pride. And when Edhamana Madah Puman, when that pride comes inside us, when that pride comes, people act differently. Unfortunately, even though we take up to this process of devotion and we understand what is expected of us, we can also get this pride for various reasons. Itna sacrifice kiya main, I have done so much sacrifice. Who are these people? They are nothing. Gives a pride to us. Or how much money I am contributing, how much hard work I am doing, how much this thing I am doing, yet nobody is recognizing. This is a sign of pride. Actually, nothing belongs to us. Really, Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. What Krishna likes, what is it that attracts Krishna? Is it our talent? Is it our skills? Or is it something else? That's a very important point, and I thought that is something worth pondering. Prahlad Maharaj in his prayers, when he is pacifying Narsimadev, he prays this wonderful prayer, Manye. Prahlad Maharaj prayer, Manye Tvam Kalamishana. Manye Dhanabhijana Rupa. Manye Dhanabhijana Rupa Tapah Shrutau Jas. Teja Prabhava Balapaurusha Buddhi Yoga. Nara Dhanaya Hi Bhavanti Parasya Pumso. Bhaktya Tutosha Bhagavan Gajayuthapaya. Prahlad Maharaj continued, one may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, he is listing more, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, lustre, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajayuthapaya, Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. It's a very, very important point, because a person acts whimsically, or he loses the real goal for which he has come and he is engaging in devotional service if he gets pride inside. And the pride can come for anyone at any point in time. There is a very beautiful prayer which comes in Padyavali, and Prabhupada quotes that, written by Rupa Goswami, very instructive. So this verse goes like this: Vyadhasya charanam dhruvasya cha vayo vidya gajendrasya ka kubjayah kim unama rupam adhikam kim tat sudamno dhanam vamsa ko vidurasya yadava pater ugrasya kim paurusham bhaktya tushyati kevalam nacha gunair bhakti priyo madhava. Very, very powerful verse, very interesting. Rupa Goswami, being an expert, has summarized this with various examples. And let's pay some attention to this examples which Rupa Goswami is quoting. Vyadhasya acharanam. Where were the hunter dharmas piety? Who is this hunter dharma? Narada Muni? Who was half killing the animals? Yeah. Mrigari? Yeah. So who's this? Valmiki? No. Huh? Bull? No. He's not a hunter. No, he's not a hunter. Dharma was being butchered by that Kali personality, but Dharma, he was a bull. That is Valmiki, yeah. He's not. Very interestingly, we should know this. Vyadhasya acharanam dhruvasya cha vayo vidya gajendrasya ka. So this hunter, which is referred to here, whose dharma, it comes in Mahabharata. There is a personality by name Kaushika, who is also there in connection to this hunter dharma. And this Kaushika was very, born in a very rich aristocratic family. But he gave up the service to his parents and went to forest and did a lot of austerity to become a Brahmana. So he did that and he became, a Brahmana, and he was very proud of his position. He was very proud that he has become a Brahmana. He knows a lot of slokas. He had a lot of mystic power. Once he was seated in meditation under a tree, and there was some droppings of the bird sitting on the top of the tree. And the dropping fell on Kaushika's head, and he looked up the bird, and he was so furious. How come this bird doesn't know my position? And with his anger, when he looked at that bird, he burnt the bird to ashes. There's so much power. So the bird was burnt, and then he, after some time, he realizes, some time passes by, what did I do? I mean, with my power, with my yogic power, I burned a poor bird. I mean, bird didn't know that, it was me who was sitting there. He just passed a stool. So he thought, I should do repentance. I should repent the work that I have done, and I should do madhukari. I should go and beg. So he goes and knocks the door of a householder. A lady opens. So he says, I am Kaushika. I have come here for madhukari. So the lady says, wait, I'll give you, but first I have to feed my husband. It's my duty to feed my husband. After that, I'll feed you. That again infuriated Kaushika. He said, what do you mean by I have to feed? Do you know who I am? First, you have to serve me. You have to take care of me. So the lady replied, don't think that, you can, like the way you burnt the bird to ashes, you can do harm to me. This is my dharma, and I am doing my dharma. Let me do my dharma, and then only I'll serve you. Kaushika got further surprised, and how come this lady knows about the bird being burnt? And she said, if you really want to know what is the principle of dharma, then you should go and meet the hunter. He will tell you what is real dharma. So Kaushika was again more curious, and he goes, who's this hunter who knows more than me about dharma? He goes there and he asks. He goes and he sees first. He sees that the hunter is actually a hunter. He's hunting animals, he's killing them. And he's going to teach me the principles of dharma. So he says, and he comes and he asks him, what is it that you know about dharma? He said, don't talk like, like a person that you know everything. I know the lady has sent you here. He got again further bewildered. How does he know about the lady who sent him there? And he said, even though grossly I'm killing animals, but I'm engaging in paro dharma. I'm engaging in the dharma of the Supreme Lord, daily praying him that please take me away from this activity, from these gross sinful activities. This is the key. Acharanam vyadhasya acharanam ka. What is the acharanam? What is he doing? He's killing animals. But he is dharma himself. He is dharma personified, because he's engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. Actually, this key point, if we remember that, the whole purpose of our existence is to be engaged in savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje. we come to this process of devotion, we understand the importance of human life, we become fortunate to receive the mercy of a pure devotee, we get this opportunity to engage in devotional service, but we come and we see other things. I remember there is, I don't know what to name, there is one person who used to say, some Matajis, they are wearing so much of jewelry. Prabhu, you should go and tell them, why are they wearing so much of jewelry? Now, who am I to go and tell them why they are wearing so much of jewelry? So, I mean, what do we look? We come and see, we have come here for engaging in devotional service, but we look at others' faults. We look at how superior I am. Oh, somebody is not doing, I am doing this and he is not able to do. In that way, what happens is, instead of engaging in devotional service, our mind gets absorbed in something else. I start feeling that superiority, and Krishna doesn't like that. Vyadhasya acharanam dhrubasya cha. So, Dhruva, how old was Dhruva? 5 years old. Dhruva was 5 years old, and he was trying to sit on the father's lap. Who was his father? Uttanpada. And what happened? Who cursed? Or who scolded or who insulted? Suruchi or Suniti? Suruchi. Suruchi insulted, and then Dhruva goes to his mother crying. What should I do? Actually, the instructions which Suniti gives is one of the most powerful instructions ever can be given by a mother to her son. That first is, don't think anything evil about the person. There is no gain in thinking bad about someone else. And your grief can only be removed or relieved by the Supreme Lord. But when Dhruva goes to forest, he had no idea. I mean, he had not gone to, attain the Lord. He had gone to get a kingdom which is bigger than his grandfather's. But then, so that is why Dhruvasya, what is the Vidya? He was a small 5-year-old boy, had no understanding really what insult is, what is mana, what is apamana. He just wanted to take revenge and wanted to have a bigger kingdom. But he could satisfy the Lord. Gajendrasya ka Vidya. Gajendrasya ka Vidya is, where is the knowledge of Gajendra? Gajendra was an animal, the king of the jungle. He was overpowered by lust with all his, wives and children. He was doing this water sport in the lake, and he was caught by the crocodile. But then, because of even though he was King Indradimna in his previous life, he had forgotten all these things, and he was doing these things when he was caught. And at that time, suddenly, there's a beautiful verse which comes in Bhagavatam, Shri Vadarayana Uvacha Evam Vyavastito Buddhya Samadhayo Mano Hridi Jajapa Paramam Japyam Pragjanmani Anushikshitam. Very interesting verse. Thereafter, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, fixed his mind in his heart with perfect intelligence. This 3 things: fixed his mind in his heart with perfect intelligence, and chanted a mantra which he had learned in his previous birth as Indradimna, which he remembered by the grace of Krishna. How did he do this? How does a Gajendra, who's an animal, who doesn't have intelligence, Jadamati, how could he remember the Lord? So it is mentioned, he fixed his mind in his heart with perfect intelligence and chanted a mantra. We know this verse which comes in Bhagavad Gita Chaturshloki, where the Lord says he gives the intelligence. Remember this? Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te tesham satata yuktanam. Even if we engage in devotional service a little, the Lord in our heart gives us the intelligence. We are able to chant these slokas which we really don't have an access, thanks to Srila Prabhupada. Even though we don't have any background of Sanskrit, or we don't know what is it, how is it, we are able to remember, we are able to quote, we are able to relish. This is because of the mercy of Prabhupada. Even if we are engaging in little devotional service, that remembrance, that intelligence comes, as it came to Gajendras. Vyadhasya acharanam dhruvasya chavayo vidya gajendrasya ka kubjayah kim u nama rupam adhikam kim tat sudamo dhanam. Kubjayah kim u nama rupam. What was the beauty of Kubja? Nothing. Actually, she was the most ugly woman, hunchback, not really beautiful. But the real qualification Kubja had was, she offered that sandalwood paste which was meant for Kamsa to Krishna. And Krishna touched Kubja. That Brahma Sparsa, that touch of Krishna, transformed Kubja. to become Miss Mathura or whatever it is, the most beautiful lady in that whole Mathura. This is the so it is not that some people say Krishna got attracted to Kubja's beauty. Not true. Krishna got attracted to Kubja's devotion in the heart, and that devotion transformed Kubja to become the most beautiful. Adhikam kim tat sudamno dhanam. What was the wealth of Sudama? Nothing. In fact, he says in one of the verses that Kwaham daridra papiyan kwa Krishna Sriniketanaha Brahma Bandhur iti samaham bahubhyam parirambhitaha. Kwaham daridra papiyan. He's telling, I'm a daridra, I'm a poor person. Papiyan. Kwa Krishna Sriniketanaha. Where is Krishna? He's the Lord of Sriniketan. He's the master of all six opulences. He's sitting in Sriniketana. He's in the abode of Goloka. He's there. He's the Swami of that. Kwa Krishna Sriniketanaha. Brahma Bandhur iti samaham. Actually, I'm a Brahma Bandhu, the word which is used by Arjuna here for Aswathama. He's telling I'm a Brahma Bandhu. Brahma Bandhur iti samaham. Bahubhyam parirambhitaha. Who am I, a sinful, poor friend of a Brahmana? And who is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full in six opulences? Nonetheless, he has embraced me with his two arms. Really, Krishna was attracted to the opulence that Sudama had? He had none. And he is telling, I'm a Daridra, I'm a Papi, I'm a Brahma Bandhu, yet Krishna embraced me because Sudama had that devotion in the heart. Then, Vamsako Vidurasya. Vamsako Vidurasya. How insulting words was hurled by Duryodhana at Vidura. What is your dynasty? You are son of a maid servant. Cat mistress, Prabhupada writes there. Vamsa ko vidurasya. Yadava pater ugrasya kim. What was the strength or chivalry of Ugrasen? Even though he was the son, he was the king of Yadu, Andhaka and all those dynasties. But what was his chivalry? He was very, very, very old, dilapidated. But bhaktya tushyati kevalam nachagunair bhakti priyo madhava. Actually, the lack of acharana or the lack of conduct by dharma, the lack of maturity by Dhruva, the lack of knowledge of Gajendra, the lack of beauty by Kubja, the lack of wealth by Sudama, the lack of proper dynasty by Vidura, and the lack of chivalry by Ugrasena. But in absence of that, having that devotion in the heart attracted Krishna. Sometimes we also get carried away, we get puffed up. We feel we are so good, I'm singing so nicely, I'm telling so nicely, I'm doing so much of service. And that gives us the pride inside. And that pride takes us away from Krishna. It doesn't bring us close to Krishna. So that is why that makes a person work or do things very differently. And we can see in this example of, what is his name, Aswathama, how he got also carried away. And they thought something that he's going to please his master. But it is not true. To conclude our time together, so when we are engaging in devotional service, one vital principle we should always remember, and that is, even though Prabhupada may be physically not present, but he understands what is there in our hearts. You may fool the whole world. You may come nicely dressed with proper tilak, full straight line, nice dhoti, nice sari or whatever. And externally you may look like, oh wow, this is such a nice person. But what is in our heart? Prabhupada knows it. I want to share two interesting pastimes of Prabhupada, how he can sense what is there in the heart and reciprocates as per that. He knows when a person should be chastised and when a person should be recognized. There is one very interesting pastime which is mentioned by Siddhanta Prabhu in his memory, Siddhanta Das. He talks about a person who was present during Prabhupada's physical pastimes, Bhauma Leela, by name Sergius Golovin. Have you heard of this name? I'm sure you would have not heard. But there is a devotee who's recollecting. The Sergius Golovin is from Switzerland, from Geneva. And he was a big philosopher, very big name. And somehow this devotee was always trying, somehow if when Prabhupada comes, if I can fix an appointment of Prabhupada with this Sergius Boloin, that's like my life's ultimate triumph. And he has been going and meeting this Sergius Boloin many times, not once, twice, thrice, 4 times. And he was always, he was never a success. He was always a failure. He was not finding time, or it was not happening. He was lamenting. And what happened when Prabhupada was about to come to Geneva, he somehow could manage to get his time, the Sergius Boloin. And by that time he has heard, like, how Prabhupada meets some pope or some scientist, and how Prabhupada just smashes their views and just finishes them. So he was expecting something like that to happen. So this is the meeting which is happening between Prabhupada and Sergius Boloin. And this devotee is seated there in the same room. He paid obeisances, and Sergius Boloin, there was a nice cushion which was arranged for him to sit in front of Prabhupada. He sat down there. And there is silence of 5 minutes. Imagine a silence of few seconds. I'm sitting here. I'll just look at you. Even for a few seconds also it is difficult. 5 minutes of silence. So Prabhupada is looking, and he's looking, and the devotee is looking. Prabhupada is very, clearly he's looking into his eyes. This man is not saying, and this devotee is thinking in his mind, my God, I got someone. I thought he'll ask some questions, and he's keeping quiet. So then after 5 minutes, Prabhupada asked him, do you have any questions? No, Prabhupada, I'm actually feeling happy in your presence, he says. So at least the devotee felt relieved that this person is appreciating Prabhupada, saying that I'm feeling happy in your presence. Then again there is silence of another few minutes, 2-3 minutes. Then Prabhupada called, asked this devotee who had arranged for this appointment, can you get my harmonium? And the harmonium was brought, and Prabhupada sang for 30 minutes closing his eyes. It's very unusual. He sang some songs, and this person was sitting in front. And then after 30 minutes, when Prabhupada finished singing, he came and fell down at Prabhupada's feet and said, I'm very, very grateful for this time that you have spent with me. I'm very grateful. And this devotee recollects, actually it is not that Srila Prabhupada uses the same tactic everywhere. We think like that, he met so many professors, scholars, scientists, and he had arguments and defeated. Prabhupada knew exactly how to change the heart of a person who's conditioned. That person became a devotee. That person started chanting. That person had a transformation of the heart. This is the reciprocation of Prabhupada, or the diagnosis of a pure devotee. He knows it. There is another pastime which is also very, very instructive as to how Prabhupada reciprocates. Actually, if we don't show the sincerity or genuineness, or if that seriousness is missing in our heart, the reciprocation also doesn't come. I was reading one purport in 1st Canto 6th chapter, the last verse, where it is mentioned, a devotee will lack shraddha or faith in other devotees if he lacks faith in the instruction of his spiritual master. If somebody doesn't have full conviction on the words of the spiritual master, he will lack faith in the Sangha. He will find faults. He will see, what is this? But we don't see that this is actually manifested. This whole thing is manifested by Prabhupada's will, by his mercy. Then we will value this Sangha. We will value this hearing. We will value every devotional activity. Otherwise the value will also go down. Like yesterday he asked, how many of you are interested for doing book book marathon? How many of you are interested in Gita Dan, or if not, then book marathon? Hardly there was one hand also, because we don't value this devotional service, or somehow the value degrades in our heart. We really don't know these are all transcendental activities. So this is very, very important. That's why we have to have very strong faith in the words of our spiritual master. Like Prabhupada had the faith in the words of his spiritual master when he came in 1965. There was no other hope, but he had strong faith, conviction in Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's words. The second pastime, it's a very wonderful one. Again, from Siddhanta Das, his memories. If you search, you will find this. So Prabhupada, in his last days, as we all know, he was in Vrindavan, and for 6 months he was not taking any solid food. He was in a very weak condition, and he was only subsisting on Charanamrit and maybe some juices or something, very infrequently, mostly on Charanamrit. So there was this devotee, I don't remember what is his name, but he was a pujari, and he's been doing pujari service in India, but in northern part, or no, not in northern part, in some other part, somewhere he was there, maybe Mayapur or somewhere. And the news has spreaded everywhere that Prabhupada is not in his physical best, in his physical health. It is deteriorating. He had an eagerness or a sincere desire that he wanted to see Prabhupada. But if you are in Pujari service, if there is no backup, then it is difficult. Right? The services of the deities cannot be neglected. So he was waiting, he was thinking how it will happen. Somehow if Krishna sanctions, I want to see Prabhupada for one last time. It so happened that there are these book distributors who go from place to place. So there were some 4 or 5 book distributors who came to that same temple. And the moment he saw them, he just proposed, saying that if you do some Pujari service for a few days, I want to go and see Prabhupada. And they agreed, apparently. So he was very happy, and the place place where he was, from there to Vrindavan, it takes 1.5 days. And these book distributors, they said they are only there for 5 days. So 1.5 days to go, 1.5 days to come back. 3 days are gone, 2 days are remaining where he has to see Prabhupada. He was so ecstatic that he has got this chance to meet Prabhupada, and he goes to Vrindavan. But in Vrindavan, that time what was happening is that since Prabhupada was not well, he was not meeting all the devotees, because he was only meeting some sannyasis and GVCs, and they had, because if somebody comes, Prabhupada has to speak, he has to get up, and it was not good for his health, he was getting tired. So all these GVCs and sannyasis, few who had access to Prabhupada's room, were not allowing anyone to come and meet. Right on their part, they were not allowing. But this poor devotee who was gone, he was trying his best somehow to sneak, some way, something, if I can see Prabhupada. There are windows, doors, somewhere, something if it happens, then I will see Prabhupada. 1 day passed by, 2nd day almost is coming to an end. And he's thinking, what is the use of coming here? I couldn't even get a chance to see Srila Prabhupada. What should I do? Like that he was thinking and regretting in his mind. He was about to leave, and he is standing on a big window in that Vrindavan house, and he was hoping maybe something will happen, or I don't know, something like that. And all of a sudden that window got opened. The curtain was removed, and he saw Prabhupada. Prabhupada saw him. Prabhupada waved him like this, and he said that was like the ultimate triumph of his life, just to get that glimpse of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's secretary and those senior devotees, one of them mentioned to him that window was not open for last 6 months. And Prabhupada got up and spoke, open that window and remove the curtain. And he just waved. Very, very touching. So, if we really have devotion in our heart, if we understand the real goal why we came here, and engage in that right mood, and not get carried away with so many other things, then Krishna and Prabhupada reciprocates. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments. Name he got Kusha. Any question? Anybody?
Draupadi, Kunti Maharani, all of them faced. Is that discounted, or
Discounted?
is it a discounted
Difficulties.
difficulty, or is it really happen? It's the amount of difficulty they faced. Now in our lives, even a small thing comes, it's like just you're wiped out, right? But compared to those difficult, it seems almost like a movie. Is it really real or is it discounted?
That is what when Bhishma Dev meets all these Pandavas, when Yudhishthir was not convinced that all these sinful activities or these people have killed because of me, when they go and meet, he says that looking at the Pandavas, he's having tears in his eyes and thinking how many difficulties you've gone through. And then he says that forget about you, about Kunti, how more she has gone through, she had to go through. And he asks himself, what could be the reason why you had to go through all these things? And he concludes that it is kalam. Actually, it is the invisible force of the Lord in the form of time which comes and creates this disturbance. There is no other way to justify this. Is it discounted or is it past karma? No, he's saying it is kala. Actually, kala is such a powerful thing which we have no idea, which is the impersonal representation of the Lord. It happens. And he gives these problems as per the people's level of tolerating that. He will not give these problems to us in our life. All this Visad Mahagne, Purushada, Darshanat and all will not happen to us. Those small little difficulties which come in our life are testing grounds for us to test our conviction, whether we are fixed in this or not. It is that much which we can handle. But that test we should go through to increase our faith and conviction on Krishna's protection. I'm not getting that verse. That verse is Aho kashtam, aho anyayam. Bhishmadev is lying on the bed of arrows, pierced, pain, but he's telling, Aho kashtam, oh alas, how much of suffering, how much of injustice. Aho kashtam, aho anyayam. Yad yuvam dharma nandanaha. Jivitum narhata klishtam vipra dharmas chutasraya. It's another thing which he mentions here. Very interesting. We should remember this. Thank God I brought this verse. Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations. Yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God, religion. If somebody takes shelter of Vipra Dharma Achyuta Ashraya, he will be protected. Brahmanas, Dharma, religion, and God, Achyuta Ashraya. That's the key, and Prabhupada explains that. As long as person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and strictly following the religious principles, one has no cause for despondency. Very powerful sentence. However trying the circumstances may be in life. 1:9:12. Aho kashtam, aho anyayam. And then he goes on to say, Sarvam kala kritam manye, bhavatma chayadapriyam, sapalo yadvasay loko, vayo rivo ghanavalihi. In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. Okay, if no other question, we will see this wonderful thing which is unfolding in front of us, what will happen to the son of Dronacharya, Swathama, what Arjuna does and what Draupadi does, and what our Acharyas comment, whether it was right or not, in the future classes. Thank you for joining. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki